What's good, friends? Ebony Chappelle checking in here with a little more positivity for your podcast listening and viewing pleasure. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of What's Good with Ebony Chappelle. So, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Before we jump into all the business of the day, be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review. If you hear something on the podcast that sticks out to you, share it with a friend, screen record, post it on your social media platforms, do all that stuff. Spread the word with somebody else. But again, thank you all for supporting the show. Definitely appreciate it. I've been getting some love out here, so that feels good. So I'll go ahead and make that my what's good with me portion of the show is just appreciating all of the great feedback that I've gotten so far from folks that have been tuning in. You can connect with me. For those of you that are not regular listeners or viewers of the show, you can connect with me on social media at Ebony the Writer on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also connect with me online on my website, ebonychappelle.com. I am so excited about today's show. Our guest is also our Paid Black Women Spotlight, and that is my girl, Jennifer Magley. So when I first met Jennifer, it was a really long time ago. I was a reporter at the Indianapolis Recorder newspaper, and Jennifer had opened a business where it was a gym concierge business, and Opal is getting on the table moving stuff. It's never a dull moment. But anywho, Jennifer was running an online gym concierge business at the time. And that was the thing that kind of gave our initial meeting some purpose, or so we thought. But there was so much more to it when we sat down and got to know each other. And I can credit Jennifer for a lot of that because she was so thoughtful in the type of conversation that we had, that I knew that this was the type of connection that was really going to continue to blossom, and who knows what it would turn into years later. So be sure to check her out. I'm going to drop her link to her book in the show notes, as well as the link to her LinkedIn page, because she is a LinkedIn maven, y'all. So that is where you can connect with her to find out about all things Jennifer Magley. But on today's show, we talk about what it was like navigating the pandemic, navigating all different types of upheaval in one's life, from changing businesses, changing marriages, changing lifestyles. We get into all of that and much, much more. So without further ado, let's jump into it with Jennifer Magley.
When is the time that you get to just flex? And I feel like it's deep.
It's deep. It's deep. And you know what? We can definitely get into it because I feel like it just bleeds into the conversation that I wanted to have in general. But before I jump into like the formal question asking and all that good stuff, what's been going on with you?
Yeah. So now, last time
I'm making myself taller, by the way. Go ahead.
No, yeah. But the last time we chatted, was it about the book mainly?
I can't remember.
Me neither.
I literally cannot remember. I just feel like time...
It's doing something weird.
It's doing something weird. And do you feel like all the days just blend together at this point? Like you don't even know what year stuff happened? That's how I'm feeling.
It's weird because I feel like it's a trauma response, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a trauma response. So
what's
perhaps we talked about a book. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this whole bit that I did the post on LinkedIn. Did I talk to you about that? And it went viral?
No. So bring me up to speed. Because if you did, I cannot remember.
Yes. So that's a perfect lead in. So basically, I always was one of these people who knew thousands of folks on LinkedIn. But I also felt like my LinkedIn network was weak.
Weak in what way?
Weak. Like I felt like they were never coming through for me.
Okay.
But the reason it turned out that they were so weak in my mind was because they didn't know that I had a need. And I learned that when I got laid off. So I was one of the first people in that first wave to get laid off during the pandemic.
Okay.
And I posted about it on LinkedIn. I was totally real, completely realist of the real. And I shared, today I got laid off. I'm not special. I've been here before. And as one point of example, the first thing I said was the only loan I've ever qualified for was from my kids' piggy banks while they slept at night.
Wow. Okay. So you went there.
I went there. And what happened was that post went viral.
Okay.
10 million people saw it. And U.S. News and World Report did a story on me. And so for 15 minutes, I was the most famous woman in the Midwest for not having a job, which is not something you ever want to be.
You don't want to be, but you found yourself in that position. And what happened after that?
What happened after that is I got a role. I got a new job, which was amazing, being a recruiter. And now after about a year and a half there, I think it's time, right? It's time doing something weird. I am a technical recruiter now. So Ebony, I am placing some of the top minds in the world at Fortune level companies, data engineers and machine learning engineers. It's a company called Averity out of New York City. And because of the pandemic, I'm able to be on their team because the whole team went work from home. So I'm here living in Indiana, huge clients like NBC Universal in New York, from Discovery out in California, and helping them find top talent. And let me say, I'm proud to do this work because there are less than 25% of the folks that are in tech are women. And on computing roles, less than 3% are African-American women of color. So I am proud that the majority of the people that we place as a firm, as an agency, staffing agency, 50% are DEI or women. And that's huge in a homogenous industry.
Absolutely. Like what we, have come to know tech to be, very homogenous. So that is incredible. That is incredible. It's one of those blessings that came out of this crazy time is having things become so much more accessible in terms of, connecting with these companies. Like this company is based on the East Coast, you're here in the Midwest, but it works out because you can really work from anywhere, which is, it's funny to say, but we should have always been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that society has finally caught up to something that's useful and reasonable for most people to have access to. Definitely.
It is. And I'm amazed also to see other people that are looking to bring this industry up to speed with diversity, because it is something that we hear about, but tech is just, they are the final frontier, and the tip of the spear can't be the 1950s profile of an employee, which is a white man, like a guy who looks like my dad, a guy who looks like my husband. Like you can't be that. Those are the only bright minds, blink, blink, out there. So I'm proud to be a part of, the folks that are committed to making that happen and that are making it happen on the daily.
Excellent. So you have the new job that came as a result of this LinkedIn fame, and being in the right place at the right time, being prepared, being open to the opportunity. And you mentioned your husband, so you have a new hubby. All these different things are going on. So what else has been good with you? Like if you were to just encapsulate everything going on right now, what would you say is good with you right now?
I would say celebrating a year of my book being out, the leadership fable, How to Be Queen. I rewrote The Tortoise and the Hare to talk about gaslighting women at work, period. It's so short, it can be read over a lunch break. And that turned one. It was really unique to launch, a product or a book during a pandemic.
Yeah.
But as one singer that I love says, just giving birth on those haters. So you just keep giving birth. Ebony, you know what it is. You're doing this in a pandemic, like that's not going to stop us. And
No.
so the book turning one has been really fun. Built a home out in Brownsburg. Didn't think that Brownsburg was going to be this utopia of diversity of what it is.
Yeah, it has grown a lot.
Unbelievable. I tell people all the time, if there's 55 kids at our bus stop, because there's a lot of kids, we've got like 40 to 50 that are of color, different nationalities, different, folks speaking different languages. It's absolutely beautiful. And I didn't think that was possible in Indiana. I felt like everybody was just, in their own little neighborhoods, and everybody goes to certain high schools. And, I'm not from Indiana.
Yeah.
So it's been unique to go into a new build neighborhood, and I get to be the OG now, rather than everybody's been here forever. So it's nice. Yeah. So that is the main things that have been going on with me, just living the dream life. It's weird when people ask you how you're doing. And I'm on the other side. So I'm on the other side of a lot of trauma, of a lot of disappointment, of being an unexpected single mother, of being laid off and having a business and that whole journey. And now I'm living in my dream. It's so wild.
Wow. So I just have so many different things that I want to hop on just with that alone. But when you say, living in your dream, did you always, when you were on the other side, dealing with the trauma and processing, becoming an unexpected single mom and everything else that you've experienced leading up to this point, when you were on that side of it, did you always know there was going to be another side? Or like, what were your thought processes like then about what your future was going to be?
Dire.
Okay. honest.
So dire. Okay, so first of all, 85% of children that are brown, Black in America are born to single, independent mothers. To join that community that was already existing before me was a whole new world and a whole new instant connection with women that I didn't know existed. It's kind of, I've heard of other people, whether it's colleges, fraternities, military, people that are police officers, like supposedly when these kinds of people meet each other, they have an instant connection. They have an instant understanding of, okay, the head nod. But when I became a single independent mom, it was like, there's this whole culture I didn't even know I wasn't even aware of. So it was amazing. That was the upside. The dire side that I say was dire was being a brown person, a brown woman in the Midwest. Okay, let me tell you, I'm coming from Florida. People are more talkative in Florida. The men were more flirtatious. The color lines are a little more blurred. And hey, people are just like, can I help you to your car with that, ma'am? I was living in Florida. So to be a single person, a single brown woman in Indiana was very isolating for me.
Wow.
And I didn't, I'm used to somebody being like, hey, what's up? None of that.
In terms of like what the dating scene, you mean?
Dating scene.
Okay.
The dating scene was so dire. And that's why I decided to get onto an app. Because I was like, we need to break this down. Because for people that don't know, like Ebony and I, we look like we're the same size, but I am like a monster woman. I'm nearly 6 feet tall. I weighed more than the boy's father when I was pregnant. I mean, I'm big. Like, see, I'm a big person. So you think some guy's just gonna walk up to me in Indiana and be like, "Hey, what?" And also, what kind of partner would that be for me? Like,
that would just walk up on you.
Yes, usually athletes, private equity, older guys, the kind of men that are like, "Hey, you need to prove yourself to me."
Okay, wow. Yeah, the whole dating thing, I feel like we could
That's
talk
a whole
about
nother
that forever.
But it was dire.
There's so much. Yeah.
So it was dire to me because I was like, I actually deep inside wanted to share this journey of parenting. I wanted that. And then what I realized was single means whole.
Mm.
I looked up in the dictionary. Single does not mean alone. Single means whole. So instead of, for myself, my journey, trying to find the male version of me, I
Okay.
realized I'm complete. Maybe I'm my own soulmate.
Yeah.
So if that's true, how do I want my partner to be different than me?
Mm.
Rather than how are we alike? And that's what opened me up to finally, on an app, which is the great equalizer, even though the apps can have some racial issues, and there's some stats out there that are insane. But
Yeah.
for me, it was the great equalizer, because my husband, to this day, he's wonderful, but I always ask him when I feel like I'm looking really good. I'm like, hey, would you come up to me and talk to me? And he's like, nope. I would,
Wow.
nope. I'm like,
Still to
why
this
not?
day, he would say that.
I
That,
know. He's like, keeps
come
it
on,
real. But I just
man.
like, nope. He's like, well, I'm not that guy. And then with
Okay.
racially, for him,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of men to separate from their group and cross that line with the risk that they might be rejected by such a beautiful woman, like a lot of men aren't willing to do that. So the apps were good for
Mm.
me. So my journey was not like, oh, I see myself on the other side. I did not. It was dire. My mindset was not strong, and that. Mm-mm.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. It's yeah, the dating thing in general is just a whole conversation. I think I want to get together a panel of women to
Yes,
discuss their
I
their
will watch that. I will watch
experiences,
that.
because there's just so much to unpack. But you all use the app. Which app did you use, by the
I
way?
use Bumble because
Bumble.
I
Okay,
like to be
cool.
able to be in control.
Yes.
But see, I use the apps as a hobby. I needed a hobby.
Yes, to overcome the dire times, give yourself a little
Well,
something
okay,
for
so
levity.
a friend of
Okay.
mine is an accountant, is a guy, and he goes, "If I were a
Mhm.
woman, I'd never pay for anything." I was like, first of all, that's why you're not a woman, but okay. But no, that's what he said. He told me he wouldn't pay for anything. I was like, what do
Mm,
you mean? He's like, movies, food. I would underwrite my whole life through dates. And I thought that was
mm.
interesting. So I was like, you know what?
Yes,
Anytime I'm
it's a
hungry,
thing.
I'm just gonna schedule a date and have my
Yeah.
little rules, like, no
Mhm.
alcohol on my dates. And a lot of them were brunches and whatever, like lunch. But I was
Mhm.
like, let's use this as networking. This is a hobby. I'm not gonna find anybody. Like, so to run
Yeah.
high volume, let's just meet people. And that's when I
Mhm.
met my person.
Wow. And you know what? You know what's so funny? I have suggested that people use the same strategy. Um
Mm.
on some level, especially when there's someone that is very much overthinking the dating process.
Yes,
I'm like,
yes.
okay, so what you need to do is take the mystique out of it, take the seriousness out of it, and just get out and meet people, period. Because you don't every connection doesn't need to be like that magical love connection, like I'm going to be with this person forever. That you're playing yourself if you think every date you step out on is going to be that.
Well,
But being open to the idea of, okay, if this type of thing does present itself, I'll pursue it. So what was it that let you know that? And I had no idea we were going to talk about your man today, but since we're here,
you know what?
you
Let's go
know
there, because I'm going to
yeah.
tell you something that's going to blow your mind, Ebony. Why
Okay.
did I swipe this man? Okay, first of all,
Yes, and what was it about the date that let you know, or maybe it was a series of dates or whatever that let you know,
yeah,
okay, this is my person?
let's talk
Yeah.
for real. We're gonna
All right, let's
talk.
do
Okay,
it.
so
Let's
here's
do
what
it.
had happened. All right, I swiped this man, and
Mhm.
he's holding a microphone in every. So there's still that narcissistic, like, ego
Yeah.
thing, because I speak all the time, give keynote addresses. You know what it is. You speak all the time, and so
Mhm.
I was like, wow, who is this? But in his profile, he had these words: NAACP member.
Wow. This is a white dude.
Correct.
Okay.
I
So
was
that
like,
was a green light and not a red light.
I was like, if
Okay.
this is a joke, because you know what state we're in, I need to find out, So is this for real? And it turned out that he literally showed me, because we were at on our first date. I was like, I don't believe you. He pulled out his NAACP card, and I was like, I didn't even know they gave cards. And
Wow.
I was like, that's a black card. I can't believe you
Oh my goodness.
actually
Wow.
have a black card.
Yeah.
And
That's deep.
so, he was reading the Reconstruction of Black America by W.B. Du Bois, supposedly, like this huge
Mm-hmm.
book. When I messaged him, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what is happening? So that is why I was like, okay, this is worth a coffee. Like, I need to find out, is this guy for
If
real?
nothing else than curiosity.
Is this a bit? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? And he turned out to be, I mean, not only did he have an NAACP card, but he had an ACLU card also. And I just was like,
Wow.
bless this man. He is so nice. But I didn't think he was like into me,
Okay.
it wasn't a lot of like incredible compliments or like, oh, you're so this and that. So I
Mm-hmm.
immediately thought he might be great for maybe one of my friends. And we went on like 2 dates, and they were, again, like networking events, daytime. There's no like chemistry
Mm-hmm.
happening here. And I finally said, like, hey, I can pay for these tacos myself unless you're planning to make out with me in the future. And he goes, well, let's not count that out, because I was ready to
Wow.
be just friends.
Yeah, because he wasn't giving enough like
Yeah.
fire or something. All
Well,
right.
I didn't know, because even on the first date, I was like, "Hey, what's up with the eye contact?" Later on, he told me,
Mm-hmm.
"It's because you're so beautiful. It's like I couldn't stare at the sun." I was like, "Oh, now you come with the lines.
Wow.
Now you come with
Wow.
you once you put a ring on
Took
it."
long enough.
Right. Right. So he is, we are like yin and yang. This is the most
Mm-hmm.
incredible man of my life. Like, I never would have imagined having a partner like him, but he's more than anything I ever would have thought of. So the
Mm-hmm.
profile of who he is completely different. It turned out he had done a rebrand of his profile. His sisters, I think, may have seen it, but he put
Mm-hmm.
all these extroverted things on there, like him speaking. Well, I didn't know that it was him speaking at a wedding, giving like a
Okay.
best man talk, and him getting like dancing at a wedding, not just dancing while out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it turns out that he's a complete introvert who does not want to speak on a microphone ever. But who
Mm.
would have known? Because he
Yeah.
goes, I catfished her.
I
So
was just about to say it feels a little catfishy. So he did those things to try to attract, I'm imagining, someone more extroverted than
uh-huh.
him.
Isn't that deep?
Um that is deep. I never thought about even using it that way, but that's an interesting process, and clearly it worked because y'all are hitched.
Yes,
Y'all are
we
married
got
now.
married the
Yes.
end, like last May, so we're coming up on a year.
Wow.
And so then, I don't know if you saw our holiday card, but it's always themed because
Mhm.
holidays.
I remember the one with your boys, and you guys were
Uh-huh.
like the 1920s style. So what was the
Oh,
theme this time?
the theme this time was James Bond.
Wow.
James Bond. And we did it. I wish I could pull up a picture of it here really quick. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing that was so special about it is I want to have these fun cards every year. And the reason why I did them is to show what my family looks like. It may not look like your
Mm-hmm.
family, it may not look
Yeah.
like someone else's family, but I'm like, growing up, I never got holiday cards of single independent moms. Like, it just wasn't
Mm.
in my neighborhood and in my area. I lived in Kansas, just wasn't a thing. So even
Mm-hmm.
now, to show this powerful movie poster where he looks like James Bond, and I'll have to send the link so you can post it with us. But
Yeah.
how unique that that this family is celebrating in the way that we are, and I'm proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
It's cool. And the boys, oh my gosh, they love him.
Mm-hmm.
Every night they're like, good night, and they were just standing there at one point, and he's like, are you wanting a hug? And they're like, please.
OMG. OMG.
It's the
Yeah.
cutest thing.
That is great. I think these are the kind of things that you can um hope for when you step out there and decide, okay, I'm going to give this thing a try. Is that maybe you meet someone that melds into your life pretty
Mm.
well, melts with your family pretty well, and it things just have the opportunity to grow from there. So that is really, really beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
you
weird
mentioned.
because
Oh, go
if I
ahead.
wouldn't have loved myself first,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to receive this kind of love.
Absolutely. That's key. That is key, and I think that's another thing that is neglected in the process of, people trying to figure out partnership and relationships and things like that. It's like, okay, so you have to take the time to make sure that you're good so that when you step into the situation, things are a lot more balanced. Like, you think about how many things fall apart for people having misaligned
Oh
expectations,
yeah.
being triggered by everything and anything because they're still dealing with, shit from the past
Oh
that's
yeah.
still coming up. I could go on and on, but that self-love part is absolutely key in making any of this stuff work.
It is. And I also feel as times change and as the body changes, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you finally love yourself, then you have a baby, then you're like, damn, I gotta learn to love this too.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to learn to love that part too.
And then you
Like
turn
all the
38,
phases.
and then like some of your stuff edges start getting thin. You're like, I gotta learn to love that too.
Yes. Yeah, you got to, because
It's a
we weren't
continual.
promised. Yeah. We weren't
Ah,
promised that shit was going to just stay the same forever. It's like, okay,
right.
if you're going to um which is so important, especially for women, given some of the pressure that we're up under when it
Yeah.
comes to aging and stuff like that, understanding that, like I tell people all the time, aging is a privilege.
Mm,
It's a privilege. Everybody doesn't get to do it.
right.
And yeah, there are things that are going to change, but how cool is that
Yeah.
it evolves over time and you just learn to appreciate yourself in new and different ways. And of course, I have to acknowledge my privilege saying that as a 33-year-old with no kids. So,
No.
like, yeah, like I have, like, of course, everybody has their shit, but it's like there are certain things I'm not dealing with. So I'm speaking from a place of privilege. I consistently bring that up on the show because I want people to know I'm not out here fronting like, oh, everything's perfect, and I have no idea what y'all are dealing with
But
at
I tell
all.
you what,
Yeah.
like bikini season is when you get real. So it's like, how much am I gonna love me this season? You know what?
It's real. It's real because I have a couple that I bought during COVID because I
Uh-huh.
was determined that at some point in the near future I would be outside again. I
Right.
knew it. You talk about dire times. Like I was going through it. I'm just like, oh, everything keeps getting canceled. Everything keeps getting pushed back. Like,
Yeah.
and then and just a fit of, I guess, desperation or something. I just got online and started buying shit, and I was just like, one day, one day, I will
One
have my
day.
time again to shine. But we're here now.
Speaking of shining,
Yes.
have you shared with the good people your recent award?
Yeah, in a way.
No, I'm
So,
gonna put you on blast. This is huge. You were
yeah.
just low key. We were like 33, 40 under 40.
Yeah, that
IBJ
happened.
40 under 40. Congratulations,
Thank you so much. Thank
ma'am.
you.
What? Tell me
Yeah.
all the things, all the juice, because I will never make this list. Tell me
Oh my
all
god.
about the things. You get like
Uh
there's like a photo spread. You were in the IBJ.
yeah.
Like there was a luncheon. I think you got like a
Mhm.
plaque. I mean, you're like immortalized. There's like a class of you. There's like alumni now. This is you. And
Yeah.
yes, I knew it. I've always known it. When I saw it, I was like,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, and you absolutely have always known it. So that's part of the juice. So um I have told a few people this, but I've never shared it publicly. But so IBJ is something that you get nominated for. I've been nominated a couple of times. One of them, Jennifer, reached out many moons
Oh,
ago,
I forgot. I
and
literally
yes,
forgot.
long time ago, and asked, I would like to nominate you for this. So
Oh.
those things I never take for granted when people extend themselves in that way. So again, I appreciate you
Oh, you're
because
brilliant. You're brilliant. And we all
thank
know it.
you.
And now IBJ knows it
Now
too.
IBJ knows it. Yes. So it's one of those things where I'm extremely grateful for the honor. Award stuff is complicated for me for a lot of different reasons that I'm still
Mm.
processing. But I was really honored. I felt very proud of myself. And also it gave me a chance to reflect on, okay, before it was recognized, because like I've been nominated before and not gotten it.
Mm.
And it was one of those things where I just kind of put it out of my mind, like whatever. And then when I found out that I got it this time, I was shocked
Yeah.
and just had I was just like, okay, because it was like out of sight, out of mind. Like I just kind of moved on in my mind from that. And then I was able to sit and reflect, and I'm like, okay, it's because of, so many different things. Like we just have to trust. Are you familiar with Channy Nicholas? Okay, so I'm an astrology girl, super
Oh
into
no, yes,
astrology.
I've seen on Instagram. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. She's very popular on Instagram, and she has an app, the Channy app. This is not an
Mm.
ad for the Channy app, so I'll leave it at that. I'll stop talking about
I am
it.
not getting compensated
Yes,
for this.
I am not. I am not at all. I pay for my subscription like
Not yet.
everybody else.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Yes. I am open to such in the future. But there is a meditation that she has, and one of the things she says is, I will trust the timing of my life because
Mm.
anticipation can be its own thrill. And I just
Mm.
locked in on that and have been holding onto that for a while. So when stuff like that happens, I'm just like, yeah, I got to just trust the timing of my life, because you never know what might happen, when it's supposed to happen, whatever. And it's one of those things where I always try to stay present as much as
Mm.
possible and appreciate these things, but also know that they're just they're there to kind of illustrate the deeper picture, which is all the work that has been done up to that point, you
Yes.
know. So it's a lot. It's a lot. But anywho, thank you so
Yes.
much for
Oh,
calling that out, because I had not mentioned it on the show. I like breezed over it in a very generic sense without actually talking about it in depth.
in this
Yeah.
community, that is, I mean, I don't know if there's a higher honor, and I couldn't imagine someone more deserving than you of what you've done to contribute to our community, our culture, and just the culture overall of what Indiana and Indianapolis can be. And you have shined that light for so many years through the various publications that you worked on, the shows that you've had. You're always creating a platform for other people to shine. So I am very happy that you had that moment that somebody said, step onto our platform and let's celebrate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that more than you know. More than you know.
Oh,
So thank you so much. It's a good time to go down memory lane. So speaking of, when we first met many moons ago, I was working at the Indianapolis Recorder,
mhm.
and you were running a company called Open Gym at the time.
Yes.
Since then, you have gone through so many other facets of your career as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a connector of people, a public speaker. When you think about that whole journey, and even before I ever met you, world class athlete, all this stuff. When you look back on the whole journey, what are some of the big takeaways that you have when it comes to what it takes to survive as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I would say that just like your quote from Shanny, it's like we really don't control the timeline of our success. And
Mhm.
if we are successful, during the pandemic, I read like, I think it was 127 books during that one year. Just
Wow.
I was on one, right? And that's my coping mechanism, learning.
Yeah.
And I read so many autobiographies of famous people. And the interesting thing is they were able to say, yeah, I worked hard, but this just happened.
Mm.
I was just kind of plucked up, or somebody offered me a TED talk, or, this thing just, someone said to me, oh, you're a model, you should model, and you just think to like Cicely Tyson, she's just walking down the street. And it doesn't discount all the work that they do. But what my biggest
Mhm.
takeaway is I might, for example, I'm minding my own business, and then I just get asked to be the MC for the United Nations Film Festival out of my bedroom because of,
Wow.
and I did that last year. I'm minding my own business, just doing my little thing, and I'm asked to be the host of the Indianapolis Marathon with 15,000 people, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
calling their names coming across the finish line. So I guess my biggest thing is we work so hard and we have this hustle and this grind and all of that. And some of it's a lot of toxic positivity. But the truth is, we don't control our success. We don't control the harvest. And all you can do
Yeah.
is just keep tilling your field and doing the best you can and see what will grow. Because
Mm.
other people aren't even hustling as hard as you, and they have more to show for it. So I don't think there's a
Yeah.
rhyme or a reason to how and when things pop off, but just staying confident that they will. I don't know if that's
Mm.
helpful or not, but it's just, I'm trying to let the universe take care of the details. And just
Yeah.
keep putting good work out there and keep putting books and articles and doing what you can. And maybe something will pop. If not, you still feel gratified and satisfied that you did what you were supposed to do, what you felt
Yeah.
like you should do.
Yeah. I think it's extremely helpful, and it hits on a lot of things that I started grappling with during the pandemic because we were all forced to just sit.
Mm,
I walked into work one day and saw my entire calendar disintegrate before my eyes,
mm.
and I had mapped out my entire year, like literally every week was mapped out as far as like what it was I was going to be focusing on.
Whew.
And to see everything just like whoop, gone, figure out something else, that was deep. So I think you make an excellent point at tilling your field and letting the universe take care of the details and not feeling like everything has to be something you strive for and hustle for and all of that, because you're right, it's extremely toxic to think, when
Yeah.
you think about how hard people work. Like sometimes we have those moments where it's like, okay, you need to exert a little bit more energy right now to just kind of get over this hump, get these things
Hmm.
done, those things done, as far as things that you obligate yourself to or whatever. But those things that came your way, it's amazing. But I also think it goes back to um when you set your intentions as far as what it is
Mm.
that you want to attract your way, and you are applying yourself in a way that lets the universe know, like, hey, I'm open to this, these are the
Yeah.
kind of things I'm interested in, and just attracting it that way, for sure. That note about tilling your field, what does that look like for you?
For me, I have kind of a saying that I live by, and that's I help successful people become unstoppable.
Mm.
That's what I do. So that can take on so many forms. Right now, that's the form of helping dynamic data engineers and machine learning engineers find jobs that they love. And that's
Mhm.
my total focus right now. Is like, all right, we're going to do this. Oh, okay. Well, I get opportunity to speak and talk about being unstoppable at a women's conference, last month. And I get
Mhm.
this invitation to do that. It's like for me, it seems so random, but telling the field is just staying true to what I feel like I'm meant here. What I'm meant to do here on earth is just
Mhm.
help and serve and connect other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So on that point about connection, you were hosting pre-pandemic days, and you'll have to
Yes.
update me on where things land right now, or where
Hmm.
where they're going.
Yeah.
But you were hosting these lunches and things, gathering dynamic women all across the city. I want you to talk a little bit about the benefits of women supporting women and what that work looks like for you these days.
Yes, absolutely. So they're called power lunches, and women from all different backgrounds, different industries would come and have lunch. No speaker, no agenda, and no membership fee. I didn't want to have a clique. That's
Mhm.
just never been my thing. So the randomness is what everyone loves. Is this is just lunch? Sometimes women don't know, and they've registered and they come and they're like, "What are we doing?" I'm like, "We're doing it."
Yeah, you're just here to eat and meet.
This is what men do all the time. It's like, hey, we're a bunch of us are going to get together and have lunch. And so I feel like it doesn't always have to be so structured. And we've had one this year. I believe it was January. Then we had
Okay.
the flare up of the other variant, and we'll be back in
Mhm.
April, end of the month. But oh my gosh, I love it. And what does it mean, women supporting women? It's crazy. I always tell people, I don't know women that are not supportive. Like, I only know
Mm.
amazing women. Like, I feel fortunate in that. I don't know if it's that I just refuse to associate with
Well, I'm
those.
sure that's part of it. I'm sure that's part of
Maybe
it,
that
and
could be
also
it.
attracting, like attracting like
Yeah.
also could be a
But
big
but
part of
but
that.
here's what I
Yeah.
believe is that this system is an out that we're living in, the job, the legal, the healthcare, it is all an outgrowth of a concept of what it means to be white. And I'm not talking about
Mm.
Caucasian. I'm talking about white, this concept of whiteness. So if you want
Mhm.
to advance as a woman within a system that is an outgrowth of an ideal of what it means to be white, what it means to be white is to put other people down. So if I
Mm.
am going to, and for folks that don't understand that, DM me, we can talk a little more about the difference
Oh,
between
yes.
Caucasian and white. But the point is, for the only way that we can come up through a system is to create our own system of connections. And that's why women supporting women is so important. And men, of course, allyship is important. But if we can connect with each other, that's how we create this 5-finger fist to be able to punch through and to get to the next level, because we need other people inside rooms that we are not in.
Mhm.
So that is why I'm so passionate about women connecting with other women. Whether it's a woman who just had a Series A fundraise with her company, to a mom that's like, do I want to get back into the traditional workforce? These women need to connect because they have something for the other one. And so
Mhm.
that's how I view it. I view that the only way to advance in this system is through connection.
Yeah, yeah. What's one of the coolest things you've seen happen at one of the power lunches?
I see it happen, tears. I just think anytime I see someone who's in tears, whether it's when I'm speaking or when they're at a power lunch, people getting jobs, people feel like they're giving each other life. Like someone hearing something that they needed to hear. I just think when I look around and I see someone's eyes, a little glassy, I'm amazed, because it means that they were meant, for whatever, meant whatever that means, to connect in
Mhm.
this moment. I think when
Yeah.
I see some emotion that's unexpected, I'm blown away. And then my favorite is when I see people hanging out without me. Hey.
When your friends become friends?
Yes, the
Yes.
introvert in me is also like, the ego in me is disappointed when I don't get invited, but the introvert in me is like, yes, I wasn't
Yes.
going to be there anyways. So,
Yep.
yes. You know
Good
what it
for
is.
you
You're a
guys.
connector too.
I am, and also an introvert, even though some people are shocked when I say that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just as surprised as you, because when I first found it out, I thought it was a mistake, but I didn't
but,
understand.
but then you need to go
Yeah.
take a nap after this chat, and then you're
Yes.
like, oh, that's why.
That's why. That is why that happened. Yeah. So it wasn't until I truly understood what it meant. I was like, oh, that's me. I see myself. I see
Yes.
myself. Yeah. So for people that are, going to be attending the events you put on, or just going to other things, where they're seeking those connections and they leave the house with that intention, like, I would like to meet someone. What are your tips for cultivating those meaningful connections with
Ooh,
people?
I have so many. I'm
I'm
such a
sure.
nerd. I've read so many books. I do experiments every month. I love it.
Mhm.
All right. I think the first tip is, when do you have the most energy? Is it in the morning or is it in the evening? If
Okay.
it's the morning, go to like creative mornings, right? Other
Mhm.
high vibe morning people that are creative, that are looking to get into something in the morning, is the way to go. If it's the evening, roll out that black tie, go gala on them. Like, just enjoy wherever you have the most energy. Try to go to an event that coincides with your rhythm, with your rhythm that you've got. And then the
Mhm.
second thing is, only go to things that you want to. Like, say no. Say no. If you feel like relieved that suddenly the event was canceled, somebody got sick, or the whole staff had to quarantine, maybe you shouldn't be going to that, right? So
Mm.
only go to things that you're really interested in. And then I guess the last thing is, I like to go, and when I go, make a promise with myself that I will stay for a certain amount of time. So if you're a person like me that's like, oh gosh, I know I need to get back out there. This is really creepy. But you know what? I'm not going to go to that full day conference. I'm just going to go to the lunch part, and I'm going to stay for an hour and a half. And once I look up, sister girl got to roll out. I got to go. So I think that's how I win, right? Like I make little promises with myself of, all right, if I go to this, I'm only going to stay for a few minutes. And the last thing is, if I go to a huge event, consider telling yourself, I just want to meet 3 people here.
Mm-hmm.
And then intentionally, you're going to just find 3 people, and you're not worried about the other thousands or hundreds of people, because that's what it's about to be again. You're not worried about them in the room, and you don't feel lost because you're like, well, I met my 3 people and I'm good. Then you can leave.
Yes. And you can leave because mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let yourself win.
Yeah. This is incredible advice. And this has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so proud to be a witness on your journey, and anything that I can do to support, let me know, because you know that brings me the greatest joy.
Absolutely. And that feeling is definitely mutual. So be sure to let me know. And for the folks that are listening, how can they connect with you and stay up to date with all the things you got going on?
Yes. So as you know, I'm LinkedIn infamous.
Listen, LinkedIn is a sleeper for people that aren't tapped in. LinkedIn is a good spot for stuff.
You know why? I think people cannot be trolls. The behavior is so much better on LinkedIn because it's connected with their jobs. So there's not as many outward haters on LinkedIn as there are on other platforms. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a message, and I'm most active on LinkedIn.
Awesome. You guys be sure to do that. I will drop the link in the show notes so you guys can connect with Jen on LinkedIn. But thank you again for being here. Definitely appreciate the opportunity to catch up and talk about all the fantastic things going on in your life.
Thank you.
Again, I want to give a huge thank you to Jennifer for such an amazing conversation. We could have gone much longer. We actually stayed on for a whole another hour talking about stuff after the show wrapped up. So that just gives you some insight into how those things can go sometimes. But again, I want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer for such an amazing conversation, and a huge shout out to you for tuning in. As always, you can connect with me on social at Ebony the Writer or on my website, ebonychappelle.com. Until the next time, have a great time and a positive life, y'all. Peace.